Good evening. In 1900, the early civil rights leader W.E.B. Du Bois declared that the problem of the 20th century is the problem of the color line. From our vantage point now in the 21st century, Du Bois's statement rings with the truth of prophecy fulfilled. And though more than 100 years have passed since those words were spoken, we are still reminded regularly of the many ways in which issues of race reverberate through our society. Recent days have seen the celebrated 60th anniversary of Jackie Robinson breaking baseball's color barrier, headlines about the dismissal of the Duke rape case with its racial overtones, and of course the furor over radio DJ Don Imus's on-air remarks about the Rutgers women's basketball team. We remain a nation deeply concerned with the subject of race, with its potential to impact so many other issues, from the images and messages we convey to our children to basic concepts of justice and economic opportunity. So how are we dealing today with the enduring problem of the color line? At a time when race has reemerged as a central topic in the American conversation, we thought we'd give you a look at how some are trying to find new solutions to a problem as old as our country itself. If there's any city in America that understands the problems of race, it's Newark, New Jersey. Just across the Hudson River from New York City, Newark is over 300 years old, the third oldest community in America, but a city that has yet to recover from the pain of racial unrest that happened 40 years ago. For one hot week in July 1967, this city burned, and many say it has never recovered. After the riots, whites gave up on Newark, moved away. The city became the symbol of urban decay in America. But today, there is a young mayor who desperately wants to change the image of Newark. He is 37-year-old Cory Booker. Since he was elected mayor a year ago, crime has gone down, education is improving, and parts of the old downtown are being revitalized. Things are finally looking up. Even the local college basketball team made it to the championship game. The success of the Rutgers women's basketball program has become an inspiration to the city, which made a racist comment on nationwide radio all the more painful.
We live in a society where the dreams of our ancestors have manifested a brighter day than this. We live in a society where all men and women are created equal. We live in a society where you are not judged by the color of the skin, the beauty of your hair, by the hue of your being. We are judged in a society where the content of your character is important.
I grew up in an all-white neighborhood, and I joke with some of my black friends who grew up in all-black environments. I said, you don't know what it's like to feel black when you're in growing up in a community where people always ask you, can I touch your hair? Because I never got a chance to touch hair like that. You were sort of the experience of a lot of people with black people. Or if you're reading, kids are reading for the first time in their textbooks, the country of Niger, and they say nigger, and everybody cracks up in the classroom and stares at you. And these subtle humiliations that you get growing up that build up over time. And so this is a nuance that's often lost in conversations about race and where we are as a country.
Long before it became a symbol of urban blight, the Newark that Cory Booker now leads was once one of America's most vital cities.
So our entire history is this really glorious history of success. And so here's a city that's the third oldest city in America in terms of when it was founded, that led this nation in every step of its evolution, from defending Washington's army when they were fleeing the British from New York, and it was Newark Minutemen that were in the pivotal battle right here in New Jersey that turned the course of the war, to the Industrial Revolution. Thomas Edison had his major inventing period right here in Newark. But then what happened to America was the urban decline and decay, when all of a sudden families that came to get jobs in these manufacturing plants in order to be successful and raise families, suddenly we shifted in our global economy, frankly, but in the American economy, those opportunities closed. So to me, people have to understand that we're all in this together. King, when he wrote the letters from the Birmingham jail, said it in a much more beautiful way when he said we're all caught in an inescapable network of mutuality tied in a common garment of destiny. So what happens in Newark is directly important to what happens in suburban New Jersey, or what happens in Utah, or what happens in California.
Well, I keep that in mind, and I just see on your desk over here, excuse me.
No problem.
But I see on this desk over here, Life magazine from July 28th, 1967.
Yes.
Shooting war in the streets, Newark, the predictable insurrection and a tragedy picture on the front. Wounded by gunshot, Joe Bass Jr., 12, lies in a Newark street in his own blood.
Yes. Yes.
How did Newark get from being, quote, the most livable city in America to the center of what can only be described as a race riot in 1967?
Right, right. Well, this is the story of America, that the social dislocations that happened in the late 50s and 60s. And the riots actually were just the sort of the bursting forth, the manifestation of a lot of the problems that were going on at the time. They began to warehouse poor people in these monuments to myopic thinking, in my opinion, that created havens for violence and crime.
That image has dogged Newark for decades. But Booker, who grew up in an all-white suburb, wanted to better understand the lives and the problems facing African Americans in this city. So for 4 years, Booker lived in this housing project in the heart of Newark, where he experienced firsthand how far the city had fallen.
I had a young boy die in my arms, shot to death. I was walking down the street and gunshots rang out, and children ran down the street, and I ran through the kids just in time to catch a boy falling off of steps, and held this child, desperately trying to stop the blood flowing from his chest.
With your track record, with your resume, Stanford, Yale, Rhodes Scholar, you could do just about anything in life that you set out to do. Why Newark?
You know, I love this community, and I feel like I'm a part of it, and it resonates with my spirit. So I feel blessed to be a part of this story and the great people that live here.
Why should anybody care about what happens in Newark? Somebody may say, okay, I hear the mayor, I understand why he cares, but if I'm in Detroit or Des Moines or Dallas, why should I care what happens in Newark?
Well, you know, we all are intimately connected in ways that we're beginning to understand. Our destinies are intertwined in such sophisticated and beautiful ways. And we're starting to see that in a global sense, that what happens in markets in Southeast Asia have an impact on what happens in inner cities in Newark or Detroit or wherever. And so now we've got to reinvent that paradigm. And here in Newark, we think we could be on the forefront of that reinvention. So I have an obligation as an American in the 21st century to innovate, to understand that I stand on the shoulders, but I must continue to reach up and reach forward. And that's what I believe my generation has to offer.
Booker started with education, encouraging a public-private scholarship program and reforms, including charter schools. With about 25% of Newark's families living in poverty, economics and job creation is a high priority as well. But for the moment, all the issues of running a major city have taken a back seat to those highly publicized racial slurs.
The injury that was done in those words is a reflection of a deeper undercurrent of racism and bigotry that exists in our society.
We've heard these things for a long time, and I don't want to go through all the announcers from, you know, Jimmy the Greek, the great Howard Cosell, but this was a much more heinous version, in my opinion, than even those comments.
They fought and they struggled and they got to college. They worked hard in the classroom and they worked hard on the court. And at a time when everybody doubted who they are, they doubted where they came from, they questioned their very existence, they made it all the way to the Final Four and the final game. And at that point, at the pinnacle, at the height, at the zenith of their achievement, they were taken down, they were shot at, they were stoned by the ignorance of a man on the radio.
So here is a person that is elevated to an incredibly high level and makes an incredible profit off of his position, where people clamor, politicians like myself would clamor to go on to those shows because they know the audiences that listen are open, are influenced by the words of Don Imus or other of these leaders. So just that's where you have to start, from understanding that there is a profit. And I get very frustrated when I see people profiting off of other people's pains or reaping rewards off of sort of the shock jock thing. But I just want to drill down to the more human element for me. I think about the girls that they talked about, but not just the girls on the basketball court or the women on the basketball court, but little girls all over America. I knew the lengths that my parents went to, rightfully, to try to shield me from even the unintentional condemnation of even the people that I loved and care about to this day. And one of the biggest issues is the beauty myth in America, that because of the kink of your hair or the curves of your hip or the thickness of your lips, that you are somehow not beautiful. So here is Don Imus now, at a time that these young women have made it to the pinnacle of their careers, and they didn't just get there by accident. Their parents had to raise them in a world that often devalued their physical features, to devalue their worth, and had to raise them to have the confidence to stand up, to be who they are. And they have a powerful, influential person sending these messages, not only to them, but to other little girls who looked at them as idols and heroes, who saw them in them the possibility that they too can make it, to send this message, a powerful white man preaching sort of this white supremacist ideology that you are not as beautiful as I am, that you are not as good as I am because of the color of your skin. And I don't know Imus, I've never met him, but I'm not sure if he has the sophistication to understand how hurtful his comments were, not just to the targets of his insults, but to a nation that is struggling to heal itself still to this day, to heal itself from the wounds that I'm sorry, it was not that long ago.
Cory Booker has been mayor less than a year, and while his campaign pledge to lower overall crime seems to be working, down 40% from last year, the murder rate is still climbing. What do people in Newark, on the streets, around the water coolers, over the lunch table, what do they care about? What do they really care about? Is the war number one?
No. Newarkers care about the basic things that Americans care about, that concern their lives. The number one concern of my citizens when we polled for this office I hold was safety. Soon after that was education. And then soon after that were a glob of issues around economic, I call economic empowerment, housing, and jobs, business opportunities. So nowhere fell on that list, or way, way down in the 1% was a fear of terrorism. Now, should we ignore it or ignore it at our own peril? Should we not be investing resources in it? Absolutely. But I have a problem, a real problem personally, with the billions of dollars investment I see going in to Iraq right now, and I can't get $100,000 to outfit my police precinct in a modern way. I was on the phone Friday night in this office till midnight working on a grant application to a private group for a drug treatment center here in Newark, and we don't have the federal dollars for that. Or even something simple that we don't have, and this is something that Mayor Bloomberg is working on with a number of us other mayors, that we can't get trace data for illegal guns that come into our cities up the New Jersey Turnpike. 1% of the gun retailers in this nation are responsible for about 60-something% of the guns, illegal guns in my community, and we can't even get the federal government to share trace data with us so we can deal with these issues. It's the absurdity of these things frustrates me, especially because I know in my heart that we have the capacity to deal with. There's no problem in America that's bigger than our people are, that's bigger than our capacity to deal with.
Let's talk about current politics. You have a candidate in the presidential sweepstakes?
I'm strongly leaning away and probably will make a decision in the next few weeks. And with Barack Obama, it's somebody I'm strongly leaning. I'm still talking amongst my team. When you sit in a position like this, you don't make decisions always for yourself. And you know, a lot of political leaders here in Newark are looking to me. And the reason why, though, I'm leaning to Barack Obama, I think that Hillary Clinton, on policy levels, I have resonate with her on a lot of issues. But I have to say that I think this nation is at a pivotal crossroads, that the politics of this nation have tried, I think unsuccessfully, but they've done their damage in dividing us one from another. This is a time in America where we need to come together in ways that we haven't done before. And so I'm looking for a presidential candidate that can inspire that in my heart, and I think they can inspire that in the nation as a whole. And that's why I'm leaning the way I am.
Is the fact that he's of African-American heritage a big part of that equation?
I don't know if it's a big part of that equation, but I do think that the many things that make us who we are, Kennedy was who he was for a lot of reasons, but one of them was that he was a Catholic, and the challenges he faced in a day, frankly, that people don't remember this, but to be Catholic in America, there was a lot of discrimination, anti-Catholic discrimination. I think that gave him a deeper compassion. I think it helped him to see and understand issues of those who are in struggle in intimate ways. I think we need that in a leader. So it's not simply him being black, and I don't think I even look at him as a black leader in the ways that often people use that term to limit somebody. I see him as a prophetic voice, and whether he manifests that as president or not, he's one of the more inspirational things that's happened to our nation. I have a faith in my nation that runs so deep that it cannot be even shaken. This country is not like any other nation. We weren't a theocracy founded on a common faith. We weren't a monarchy founded by a lineage and blood. We were a great experiment. And this nation was founded in a set of ideals that were perfect, though we had a savagely imperfect reality. But this story of America is a constant evolution in an aspirational sense to manifest those ideals. And I believe that in the hunger of the overwhelming majority of this country is for us to be what we are, to manifest the glory of this nation. So I hear that all the time, is a country ready for a black president or a woman president? Yes, the country is ready for a great president. If they happen to be female or black, so be it. And I think that my faith in this nation, as difficult as it's been, is always proven out.
Newark's young mayor, Cory Booker. Now, when we return, starting a city from scratch.